So, welcome everybody to yet another live interview, this time with Erick Silvio and Become a Fearless Father. Let's get right into this.
Super pumped to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, man. Good to hear that. Good to hear that. This is the loudest I'm going to be right now. I'm going to tone it a little bit now. My boy already fell asleep. He's sleeping right next door. So, if he wakes up, then I gotta move. Anyway, Erick, let's start with the first question, man.
Yeah.
We spoke a little bit already, and I'm always very interested, especially in the transition of when you're already an entrepreneur, and then all of a sudden, hey, you become a dad, so you become a dadpreneur. What have been some of the biggest changes, the biggest way for you to adapt to now being a dadpreneur?
Well, that's a great question. Honestly, I feel like it's, now I have this little person in my life who I would love to give her all the attention and all of my time, honestly. But I have to also consider it's just this really interesting shift in mindset because, I know that one of the best things that I could do for her is provide for her and make sure that she has everything that she needs as she grows up. And it's, whereas before it was really all about, let's make the Inc. 500 list and let's, travel the world and everything, which isn't to say that I can't do those things, but suddenly, it's been like inspirational more so than ever before to have this person who I can really care for and look after and do everything possible to make sure they have a great life.
Exactly. And when you talk about provide, what's your definition of to provide?
Oh, well, making sure that she has a good home to live in, of course. Making sure that she always has whatever she needs, whether it be clothing, toys, and then, of course, making sure that she gets good schooling too. But more than anything, I guess one of the big things is also just making sure to set the example as well, and not leaving it to be something that's where she's. I just want to make sure that she knows what she should do and expect in life and what's going to give her the most as she gets older. Yeah.
I like that, man. Thanks for sharing that. So, as the first question, man, I always like to know what's your background or origin story that you can share with us so we get to know you a little bit. And before you start, I just quickly wanted to share with the people because, as I said, we've talked before, for the people that are interested in getting, actually, it's a gift, right? It's a YouTube cheat sheet, right? So Erick was actually telling me before, he's like, dude, man, I got this really cool cheat sheet and can I share this with your audience? I'm like, can you? Please, man, we love gifts, right? So for you guys that are online, check it out. You can just go into the comment section. The link is right there. You can just click on it and get your cheat sheet, all right? So first of all, Erick, I really appreciate that. And please share with us your background story.
Yeah, of course. So I actually got started with search engine optimization, which for some people who don't know, it's actually become more and more complex over the years. And it's a funny thing, because I got started probably at a really good time where it was much less complex than it is today. And when I eventually got to a point in my digital marketing career where I wanted to help others get started, I found that YouTube advertising was actually a very, very simple and easy way to do that because it is such a simple platform and it's something that people can do from home and has very much allowed me to be with my family. And it's something that I wish for others too. It's a really great way to, it's awesome to see like that I've inspired people or that I've done something that really helps somebody be with their kids more or their wives or their families. It's a great way to do it. But just going into this a little more, if I can, I started back in about 2013. And I knew that in the future, I was smart enough to know that I'm going to need time for whether I have a family in the future or whether I decide to travel, something along those lines. And I needed to find a way to work from home and make my own hours. And that's how I kind of got started in all of this. And over time, it began to develop. It wasn't easy in the beginning, especially with SEO. But things became much easier as far as like getting clients and implementing strategies to a point now where I do have that time where I can be with my family and I can show my I mean, she's only a 1-year-old right now, so I'm not exactly like showing her entrepreneurship or anything like that yet, but down the line I can actually, show her the value in owning your own company and the value in helping others. And I'm really excited about that. It goes kind of back to this concept of setting that example.
Exactly. And just so you have one daughter, 1-year-old, and married. That's an assumption.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm married.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, nowadays it's not, right?
Yeah.
Some people are not. I made that mistake once. Now I'm just gonna say like it's an assumption right now. Are you married? Yes, you are. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Man.
you gotta make sure.
Awesome, great to hear that. So you mentioned YouTube ads are simple. Let's.
Yeah.
It wasn't until my 6th question, but let's dive into that since that's what we're most focused on at the moment, teaching that to your clients. So I am not doing YouTube ads yet, but I've heard that it's simple and I've heard that it's great. So please share with us, where should we start to explain to dadpreneurs out there that have a YouTube channel like I do, right?
Yeah.
Why YouTube ads? Because I think most of the people are either focused on Google ads or Facebook ads, right?
Right. Yeah.
And YouTube ads is, I think, something that's coming up. Like I'm hearing, let's say it like this, I'm hearing it more and more. Might be because I'm really involved in YouTube. I don't know, but please share a little bit more about, why YouTube ads and etc.
Absolutely. So, funny thing, I'll go back a little bit because in November I was invited to a convention of there was a very small convention. Only about 200 internet marketers were invited to this place, and every year they make a prediction on trends in the marketing world. And this last year, it was all about YouTube and YouTube advertising. And it was really interesting to hear about this because, as it turns out, in 2018, there was about 3 times more ad spend on Facebook than there was on YouTube, which shows you that there really isn't as much competition. And where there's less competition, that also means cheaper traffic. When Facebook started their advertising around 2007-ish, somewhere around there, you could get traffic at 15 cents a click. You were basically trading pennies for traffic. Well, people are currently seeing that with YouTube ads, so that's why there's a lot more hype lately about it. And honestly, I think as we go into 2020, you'll probably see even a lot more ads. But as far as like people getting started, I think it's important to know that. And I think it's also important to know that Google owns YouTube. A lot of people already know that, but not everybody. I figure I'd just mention it.
No, great.
So with that being said, if a person was to get started with YouTube advertising, it's actually all done through the Google platform where you set up Google Ads. From there, I say that it's very simple because if you know the steps, it's just a matter of like clicking a few buttons and typing a couple numbers, things like that. It's nothing too crazy if you know the steps. Now, and that's, kind of going back to my cheat sheet. I kind of lay out those steps for a beginner. There it is.
Yeah, hey, you gotta show it. You talk about it,
Sure,
we'll show it so people can immediately check it out while you're talking about it.
Yeah.
So that's part of your cheat sheet, right? You explain those steps, how to set up your first ad. All right, that's
exactly. I pretty much lay it out literally step by step, where a person can easily just kind of open it up and they go, okay, step 1, I'm going to this link, and step 2, I'm clicking this button. So that it's very simple for anybody who wants to get involved in it. And that really, I mean, it's not covering all bases of all the different types of ads. I really kind of only go into what I have found to be the best types of ads, which are the ones that are, they're called in-stream ads, where a person can skip the ad if you want. And one of the great benefits to that is if a person does skip your ad before 30 seconds, you're not paying for that traffic, which is great. And if they do watch 30 seconds or more, that's usually a good indication that a person was interested in your ad and you are paying for that. Or if they click the link in your ad, things like that. So that again kind of goes back to the idea of getting cheap traffic. So it's pretty awesome. I personally love it. I think it's way simpler than getting into Facebook ads. I think it's way simpler than getting into SEO. And that's kind of why I chose this avenue.
Exactly. So since it's YouTube, your ad is then, just my thought right now, is automatically you make it a video or?
Right. Yeah.
Right? Because in YouTube or in Facebook, you have the option, right? You can just only choose text or text with photo or video. So YouTube is only you choose video and that's it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you'll create a video, and I mean, I don't know if you want to get into strategy at all here.
Dude, I would love to. Share a little bit, please.
Yeah, sure. So, when you're creating these videos, the idea is you really want to, for the most part, you want to get people onto like your website or your landing page, somewhere where you have some kind of offer. So it's important that you have something compelling in your ad and that you're hooking people in your ad. And, the wrong way to do it is to say, I'm Eric. I can do your marketing for you, because that's it's boring. And there's nothing compelling about it. But when you get into, and you've probably seen ads like this, where you get into, in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to show you how you can take your business from 10,000, from $100,000 a year to multiple 7 figures. And a person sees them like, what? Really? You're going to show me that in the next 30 seconds? Like, okay, let's check it out. And then you kind of show them what you're doing, whatever. And you say, and if you want to learn more about this and go get, my cheat sheet, for example, of the exact steps that I've laid out here, just click this link. And you start acquiring names and a mailing list and so on. But that's essentially the simple version of it. In my group, I actually kind of help people a little more with these types of things, and I look at their ads that they're doing, and I help them take a look at and see what they can do to improve.
Exactly. So for the people watching now or in replay, again, you can get the cheat sheet right here. You just go in the comment section. It should be one of the top ones. You can just click on the link and get right to the cheat sheet. So I appreciate you sharing that, Eric. And what is your advice in regards to, because you see it on Facebook, some of them are indeed to their freebie, others are immediately to an offer, right? Buy my book or buy my program, whatever it is, right? What is your view on that? Do you go for everything, or are you just purely focused on building that list and getting that freebie out? How do you do that with your clients?
So I think typically I try to find some compelling, like introductory kind of an offer that I can give to people, and that's usually what I try to do, because it can be a lot harder to shoot out and try to get a bunch of traffic to something that's going to make a big sale right away, especially like big ticket items. You don't want to spend thousands of dollars in ads, for example, for something that probably isn't going to sell somebody right away. You have to realize that it's a lot easier to sell somebody who you've already gotten on your list and who you can remarket to through email marketing or other mediums. And yeah, that's the thought there.
Exactly. And then Facebook, because I'm comparing it to Facebook since that's where I got the most experience. But in Facebook, then also you have the possibility to retarget people, get real specific in which people you want to see that. How simple is that to do as well on YouTube? How defined is YouTube in making those steps as well?
So you were saying with retargeting on YouTube, and how that might be different from Facebook. It's actually pretty simple if you're retargeting with YouTube ads. Again, it's all right there in the Google platform. There are a few steps that you have to do that are different from setting up a normal ad, and you have to similar to like how you have your Facebook pixel. You have something similar for Google Ads and YouTube for retargeting. But yeah, it's altogether, it is a pretty simple process. And I don't know, I may have included something about that in the cheat sheet as well. But yeah, I will say though, you don't have things like custom audiences per se, or lookalike audiences. So that is something that is different from Facebook, but most people can be pretty forgiving about that with how cheap the traffic is.
Exactly. So when we look at your clients, right, your paid clients, which way are you going? Are you coaching them, or are you also actually setting all their complete ad up, or what's your business model look like?
Yeah, sure. So typically what we'll do is we'll start by finding out a bit about their about what their ideal client looks like. We also go into detail with our client about how much is a client worth, so that we can better track whether or not this our ad campaign is working for them. And we'll track conversions, and we'll help set up like landing pages for them, different things like that. And then of course we get into the ad creative, which is kind of, I touched on that a little bit, making a compelling offer, making sure that you hook them, and getting all of these elements together and trying to control as much as possible the outcome of your ad campaign is essentially what we're walking our clients through. And that may also include things like, in the process of actually doing YouTube ads, we try to track things like which ads are effective and which ones aren't. So we might be setting up multiple different ads. And we also try to track things like which, what devices are people using for these ads. And if we find that more people are using mobile devices than desktop, then we're probably going to cut out most of the desktop ads and push mobile. So we try to track everything, and really as much as possible, you just got to collect a lot of data from your client and through your ad campaign, so that you can make sure you're making the best choices for them.
Exactly. Great, man. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
Going into that, man, how important is it for your business to, and even for your life, to have set up routines and systems?
It's pretty important. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's funny because, and this kind of touches on the family life as well, because when you've got a baby, that's somebody who needs your attention, and you really have to make sure that you have everything in place at the right time, and you start setting more scheduling where as before I could work whenever. It was kind of like, yeah, to this morning I'm gonna start work at 9, whereas some of the mornings I might start at 7. And now I'm kind of like, and I can have lunch at 2. Well, now we've got a daughter, and I make sure that I'm there for her when she needs me. And there are certain times of the day that I do make sure of that. And as far as like systems go, for my business, honestly, it kind of I make sure that my clients know when I'm available and when I'm not available. I also make sure that they know what to expect when they're getting started with me, so that we can all be on the same page. And, honestly, for a lot of people I work with, I let them know that I have a family. Because before having a family, when it was just me and my wife, it was very easy for a client to send me a text or an email or a call on a weekend or something like that. But now they're a bit more conscious of the fact that I do have a baby, and that I have to take time in my life for the family too. And they completely respect that, and I'm grateful that they do. I think working with a lot of people who have families are very understanding of that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it probably also you're now attracting that kind of client. Is that possible?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like not just clients, but also friends on Facebook and stuff like that, and people that you talk to. All of a sudden, you're attracting a complete different new environment that you're creating. Also, the others, they just don't understand, right? That person that you were before, that would now be your client. He's like, Eric, come on, man. What's up? I'm waiting. Come on. You're like, dude, relax. I got to feed my baby. That goes first. It's got to eat. If not, she's going to be crying a lot. I'm going to be very upset. I'm going to be very grouchy. It's going to be difficult then to give full attention. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. One of the things that I had difficulty with in the beginning, that changed a lot, was my morning routine, right? I've noticed that a lot of highly successful people, they're really working on their morning routine and making sure it's set up. And I was like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Dude, I got 2 young boys. It's not great anymore. They kind of just go all over the place. So I was just wondering, man, how important is it for you to have set up some sort of morning routine? And how do you make sure that you at least hit like the basics to make sure that, you hit the ground running, as they say, right? Yeah.
Well, I would say, honestly, the way that we typically start, my daughter usually wakes up, I would say usually on average around 7 a.m., something like that. And so that's like the family time. But, after that, because my business, I typically run at about 9 a.m. is when things start. But before I get started, I really like to get a good workout in and set the pace for the day. And I do feel like that really does help set the pace. Is I'm going to knock this out. I'm going to get a good workout in. And I don't always eat breakfast, to be totally honest. Sometimes I do, but that I feel really helps me set the pace, because when you're working like from home, like I do, it can sometimes be a little tough to get motivated and get going on things, especially if you're just like rolling out of bed and you're kind of like, well, maybe I'll go sit outside for a minute and have some coffee and what's this guy doing on YouTube these days and and whatever. But if you get into action first thing in the morning, you're really kind of setting that pace of action for the rest of your day, or at least that's how I feel, and that's what I've had success with, which is pretty cool.
Exactly. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I've noticed over time, it really depends on what kind of person you are. So some people want that action right away, right? They want that workout and boom. If not, then the day's gonna go. Other people really like that sense of community right away. You know what I mean? Immediately have that interaction with people. I am one of those. I love to chat, which I can because that's the one thing that's difficult from working at home. So I'm also like you. I just got to get that workout in, right?
Yeah.
Other people like it to be really calm, right? They first like to get the meditation, and then others they like to have that, hearing and then hear motivational speeches, which I also really enjoyed listening to.
Yeah, I like that too.
Eric and stuff like that, right? Just screaming in your ear, and you let's go.
Yeah, I like that too. I follow like Grant Cardone, for example, and it just gets me pumped. Going, I've been thinking so small. I need to be thinking bigger. I got to take action.
Exactly. I like that, man. I appreciate you sharing that. And by the way, in regards to breakfast, right? There are some. I was actually talking to my coach yesterday, and he was saying that Dave Aspirin, right? With the I don't know. I tried it. I didn't like it, so it wasn't my thing. But they actually skip breakfast, right? They try to keep you just drinking a cup of coffee with some I don't know, stuff in it. And but then you don't have any breakfast to get you burning and energy, and I don't know how it works. It wasn't for me. I started feeling really tired, sleepy, and passing out. It works for everybody different. Like I need my breakfast. Like, that for me is like, if I won't do anything else, I need my big plate, my big bowl of 5-6 different fruits, and I gotta have that. If not, it's not gonna start well. So
that's cool, man. My wife is the same way. She never skips breakfast, and it's gotta happen. So it's kind of like, okay. And I enjoyed being with the family in the morning for breakfast. So it can sometimes I'm there. Usually I'm there. But I would say sometimes I'm like, man, I'm just not hungry. I'm gonna hold out for a bit.
Exactly. But that's the awesome thing, right? As a dadpreneur working from home, you have that flexibility, that opportunity to make that choice, saying, okay, I'm gonna spend extra time with the family, sit here, have some breakfasts, then just relax, calm. You don't have that stress. It's like, oh, I gotta get to my job. I gotta start at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
No, man, I kind of can start whenever I want. I mean, I got to be disciplined and start and do stuff. However, on my schedule and not on everybody, or not my boss's schedule, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Dude, what's your? You mentioned you work from home, but what's your? If you had to look, one of the things I do with my clients is first look at like, okay, what's your current situation like, right?
Yeah.
If you look at your current situation, what does that completely look like for you in regards to levels where you're at the moment with life and work?
Yeah. So I would say things are pretty steady for us. A lot of the work that I get actually is referral work, which is great because I see that as an indication that I'm doing well for the people I work with. Exactly. But I would say really, we have, I think probably right now we're probably close to around 20 clients, something like that, which isn't huge per se. But we're not like, just getting started either. And I have a few people, a small team, 4 people who work for me. And I mean, I would say things aren't like completely passive per se. I'm definitely working in there and I'm grinding. But I feel like things are approaching that to where, I have somebody who I'm looking at right now who's going to handle sales and outreach and things like that so that we can get a steady influx of leads for the company. And then I also have a couple people in mind who would probably replace me completely and sort of take sort of a managerial role. So I'm sort of in this phase right now as we do this where I'm starting to transition to turning things over to other people and really kind of focusing more on helping others become experts in YouTube advertising. So that's kind of where I would say things are at right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
The question, because this is an easy question, of course, but the question why I ask you this is because it's easier for the people to understand them. Where do you want to go? What's your vision? And you already gave a little bit away by saying, look, I'm really transitioning to get myself out, right? To get myself really like just hovering above and probably, but yeah, share what's your vision? Where do you want all of this to go?
Yeah, absolutely. So I typically keep my agency separate from everything else that I'm doing. And that is something that I'd like to get to a point where, I have some connections and friends who are actually on the Inc. 500 list for internet marketers and who are kind of mentoring me in getting there myself. And I think that would be really great to one day make that. And that's mostly like a personal goal of mine for that company. And then for, of course, helping others with YouTube ads, it's an interesting point that I really only got started on this maybe, I would say around April or May, something like that, where I really started helping people with it. And it's really fun to see, there's one guy in my group, his name is Mike, and he's getting clients with YouTube advertising. And all he has for his resources is like my cheat sheet and the group where he can ask questions and get help, and I can kind of dive in. And it's really fun to see that there's this new generation of internet marketers who are just tackling the YouTube market, and that they're using the strategies that I've been implementing and having success. And it's like, man, that's really cool. It's kind of like, being a dad all over again for other people. I'm raising my little children to come up and become successful entrepreneurs. And I mean, it's kind of silly to say that because a lot of the people who I work with have success in entrepreneurship, and some people are very new. So yeah. But I guess in the end, the goal for that is probably going to be, I don't know. I guess I haven't really set that out. I'm thinking about creating a digital course at some point, and I know that I'm kind of giving away the strategies already on YouTube ads, but maybe it could be something along the lines of helping people who already have my cheat sheet and who already know how to do YouTube ads, help them create an agency where they're getting consistent clients and things like that. I haven't quite developed that goal to its precision per se, but eventually, at some point, probably in the next coming weeks, I'm going to take a good look and see exactly where that's going to go.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, action before doing anything else, right? Because then you've noticed a lot, you've seen probably many of them as well. They first trying to really determine like, okay, I'm right here, and this is going to be my vision, and I'm going to do this and this and this. And then 1 month later, still nothing happens. They're still in their current position and no step closer to your vision, right? And what you just shared is very important. It's like, okay, I'm taking steps. Like I got my current position. I know more or less where I want to go. So let's start taking some steps, see where we're going with this. And my vision develops along the way into a more clear picture, which is really good.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty much exactly like that. I just wanted to take the action, and I see that it's growing into something now. I don't have like a huge membership or anything like that. I mean, I see some of these groups with tens of thousands of members, and I've got mine with, maybe like 130 members, something like that. And I kind of go, okay, well, it's still developing though. And there does seem to be an interest and a demand for it. So I'm like, well, maybe I'm going somewhere with this. This could be really awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. Shoot, aim.
Yeah, exactly. Shoot, aim.
Everybody else always says first you got to aim and then you got to shoot. No, you shoot and then you aim while you're just flying off. Great, man. I like that. I really appreciate you sharing that. So let me ask you this, because I'm very interested in this part as well. You mentioned you got a small team of 4 people, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that entrepreneurs and dadpreneurs have to think about at a certain point is like, okay, I must, like we like everything. I got to do everything myself. I got to do everything myself. But at a certain point, you got to think about, okay, I must start handing off certain systems that I put in place, right? Like editing videos and stuff like that. Like for me, that's like my first must, right?
Yeah.
So I got to find somebody. I got to I got to start a team, and I got to start my first person, right?
Yeah.
You got 4 people already that are working with you. Can you share a little bit? Are these people like in your city? Are they worldwide? How did you go about finding the right people to work for your business?
Yeah. Well, honestly, for a couple of people, I have a couple of people working for me who are in Chicago, and I'm not in Chicago, but I met them through connections, which was really great.
Nice.
I think that is one of the better ways to meet people, is through networking, because you have somebody you know that's vouching for them, and someone you know and trust. Whereas when you kind of go into things blindly, you kind of rely on another person's promises that they're the perfect fit for it. And that isn't to say that that's a bad way to go by any means, because the other couple people who are working for me, I got on Upwork.
Okay.
And I feel that the way that I just hired them and I never fired them, which is great. And I think my success there was really laying out exactly what the responsibilities were, exactly what I needed, and being very clear about it, so that I could get them, really in the know of exactly what needs to be done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's very great advice for the people that, like me, are on the verge of starting to work with their first VA, right? Their first virtual assistant, or their first, for you, they're all VAs, right? Because they all work from a different city than where you are working from. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go a step different.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
One of the most important things, man, as a dadpreneur is the support that we get from our wives, right?
Yeah.
However, sometimes we're just so focused on our business, and we forget that our wife should come first, right? That she's the most important. I'm not going into that, but what I want to ask is, what do you do to make sure that your wife knows that she is the most important thing, and that you appreciate her support and what you're trying to build together?
I say, honestly, just having a goal that we share, or goals, I should say, and knowing and really making it known that the things that I'm doing are achieving those goals, or in the direction of achieving those goals. And I feel that that has worked out really, really well, because there have been times where even I might be down a little bit or feel a little beaten. And at the end of the day, she's right there saying, well, we're trying to accomplish these goals. Remember that, and keep working on it, and you'll get there. And I don't really run into that so much these days anymore. But in the beginning, it was really great to have that support, because that's where I feel most people do give up, is in the beginning, when they're struggling the most, and they're having trouble overcoming that adversity. To have somebody who's there, who's gonna say, don't forget, this is what we're doing. And because we've had that conversation early on, it's sort of maintained itself throughout our relationship, and maintained this sort of system of support, which has been awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, I like that. So I appreciate that. Then the hardest part, or at least that's one of the things that I find difficult. Of course, you're both your own person. You don't have your own values. You have some shared values, but you also have your own values. You have your own thoughts about how to raise your kids, right?
Sure.
How do you go about making sure that you're both on the same page, and you don't have that much problem yet since your daughter's only one.
Yeah.
But trust me, once you get 3, 4, she starts talking, she starts figuring out like, I can ask this to daddy.
Yeah.
Because, mommy won't let me, and I can ask this to mommy because daddy won't let me.
Yeah.
Thought about those things already, or are you guys talking about already, or
Yeah. And honestly, it's kind of funny because we've sort of established that she's more the good cop and I'll be more the bad cop in certain scenarios, because but that isn't to say obviously that I'm going to do bad things or the wrong things, but she knows that when she's older and wants to stay up with dad and have ice cream or something like that, I'm probably going to be a total sucker and I'm probably going to go for it. And she is aware of that. And is that going to cause terrible problems in the future? I don't think so. And she doesn't think so, because it is understood now that's how I feel about it. And we have had I think this is the important point, is that we have talked about it. And for the most part, when it comes to raising our daughter and making her grow up to be, competent and ethical and moral in these things, she's probably going to, my wife is probably going to have a lot of influence on that. And because I do spend so much time working to provide for the family. And I think we also kind of have that understanding as well, which isn't to say I'm not going to have any influence, because of course I'll have influence there. But I tried to make her the boss, so-called, when it comes to the family. And when it comes to making the money for the family, I become the boss in that regard. So I try to give my wife as much as possible the support that she might need in the decisions that she makes. And I just, it kind of comes down to trust and knowing that this person is going to make the right decisions. And if I have some kind of disagreement, there's no problem with me bringing that up, so that it can be discussed. But she is sort of the boss in that regard when it comes to our family and making sure that we have a happy home. And I think that's worked out really well for us so far. And as we progress and as we move through things, of course, there may be changes, but we're totally willing to communicate with one another and have those discussions to make those kinds of adjustments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you discuss that, and then you decide, okay, these are your responsibilities, and these are your responsibilities, and then we back each other up and communicate that with one another, and to make sure that everyone feels supported.
Yeah.
within their job, however you want to call it, right? For this family, within this family.
Yeah. Exactly.
I like that. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, thanks, man.
One of the things that I hear more and more, and I actually I really became to a realization when people start sharing that, or I shouldn't say people, I should say other dadpreneurs, because I only have dadpreneurs now on the show. Yeah. They were talking about filling your cup and filling her cup, or let her make sure that she fills her cup, right? Meaning that everybody has their own time for themselves to make sure that you recharge yourself, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
It's hectic, you're working, taking care of the baby, taking care of the house, and then you have to communicate with your wife, which not always goes as smooth as we all would like it to go, right? So
sure.
I hope you understand the concept of filling the cup, but I'm sure that you do now. What do you do? Or what are your preferred ways of making sure that you fill your own cup to make sure that you're energetic and ready to take, to be there the whole day energetic for everybody?
Yeah. Honestly, I think one of the biggest things is, it's interesting because I love what I do, so I don't feel like it's a job, quote unquote, or something like that. and my my wife is very respectful for my time and the time that I feel I need to take, where I might close myself up in my office and I might be working on some of the different projects that I have. And I think that, but aside from that, you know, the working out and stuff helps me make sure that my head is cleared and that I'm in beast mode, so to speak, and really ready to just take on the day. And those are some of the big things that I do. I also like to do a lot of reading, and mostly the type of reading I do is I like to read autobiographies of successful people, because I feel that by understanding people's experiences and how they've approached things, it kind of helps me change my mindset and wrap my mind around making everything go right. You know, one of the coolest books I ever read was Nelson Mandela's autobiography, and that was huge, and it really gave me this new perspective of problems and having a purpose and a cause and the things that you want to go for. And it's just interesting, you know, because I look at that and I take that and I go, at the end of the day, I need to not just look at myself and what I can do for me, but I need to look at how I can be happy and make sure that everybody around me is happy, so that the environment is a great environment to be around. And how am I going to make that go right? And when I really look at these things and I study these successful people and I go, you know, Elon Musk almost went bankrupt when doing like SpaceX and Tesla. And like, I look at my problems in comparison and I go, man, like I don't have $100 million on the line here or anything, or multiple employees that are about to get fired. I mean, I have some employees, but I don't have like hundreds of employees who rely on me or things like that. And it sort of gives me this perspective, a much bigger perspective of what it means to deal with problems and situations and how to handle life. And it makes me feel like I can take on the world, and that nothing's impossible. And I think that's really important for me and for people who are dealing with day-to-day problems, is to somehow put themselves in a position where they're kind of looking at things through the eyes of a figure like Elon Musk or Nelson Mandela or something like that. And if you can really put yourself in those shoes, in the situations and problems they've had to deal with, your problems start to look so much smaller, and I feel solutions start coming to mind. And that's helped me quite a bit.
Yeah, I can understand that. Nelson Mandela, that's, that's something else.
Yeah.
Something else. And you actually brought me around. Yeah, I got to get that book, because Nelson Mandela has definitely been an inspiration.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely amazing how that man. I read about him. I can't remember which book it was. They were writing about him, how he was capable of being in a jail and not blaming anybody, but just keep getting his mind clean, keep cleaning his space, and just keep, being him and trying to make impact in the surroundings for the better for everybody else, right? Which he did in the end.
He did it amazing with it. I mean, he just had so much care for people, and that drove him. And it's really remarkable that man. I can hardly believe such a man existed. You know?
He did, though. He did. And a lot of people are very grateful for him. That's for sure. So, going from there, let's go a little bit into not just filling up your cup, but self-development. You mentioned, for example, you like to read. What are some of the other things that you do to continuously develop yourself so you can be or become your best you?
Well, you know, a lot of things. One thing that I like to do is I really enjoy looking and observing what successful people are doing, and not even always what they say, but more what they're doing. And that isn't to say I ignore what they say, but, I look at, someone like Grant Cardone, for example, and he gives all kinds of really incredible advice, and it's great. But when I look at what he's doing, I kind of go, well, he's reaching masses of people and getting them into his digital products. And I don't necessarily see him talking about that so much, but I see him doing that. And you look at, just what successful people are doing. You might find a digital course that somebody is doing on say Facebook ads, and then find that they have a huge YouTube following. And they're not always talking about that YouTube following that they have. And I look at these things, and that's where I think you start to find the secrets of successful people, is not just by listening to what they have to say, which could be very valuable, but also by taking a look at the actions that they're doing. And I look at like you, for example, and you've got these interviews going, and you're talking about dadpreneurship and things like that. And I go, well, we haven't really talked about this per se, but interviewing people could be a really great way to build up your audience and gain attention and things like that. And so I think that's a big part of growing and developing is reading between the lines, so to speak, and seeing what people are doing, and not always necessarily what they're talking about. And that, again, I feel like we've actually covered some very valuable things here, and I've even covered a lot of the things that I'm doing. But for somebody to look at this and also take a look at what are these guys doing right now? What are they accomplishing, and what kind of gain are they getting from that? You can really start to grow from looking at successful people's actions.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the big things, and of course of the reading too. And I think that kind of ties in with reading autobiographies versus books on self-help. I think are also great. I think they're very cool, but I kind of feel like taking this other perspective of kind of reliving someone else's, a successful person's life, and taking a look at the actions and decisions that they've taken along the way can really bring out a lot of insight and enlightenment into the types of things that a person could be doing to create similar success.
Exactly. So besides Grant Cardone, who are your other favorite big guys out there that you like to follow?
Yeah, well, I really like Gary Vee, of course. I like Grant Cardone. And I also, believe it or not, I like a lot of people who aren't as well known either. Some are pretty well known. Some maybe not as much. And of course, Russell Brunson's awesome. He's a big name, obviously. But guys like Kevin David, for example, he's pretty well known through the different types of marketing that he's doing. And he's a 10X 2 Comma Club winner and things like that. And what's his name? Myron Golden is another cool guy. These are ClickFunnels guys. But I look at the things that they're doing, and I try to follow them because they're a lot closer to the level that I'm at than take like a Grant Cardone type of person. And if I'm going to take myself to another level or to a way high level, I think it's important to take a look at gradients. And a guy who's working at Starbucks, 9 to 5 kind of a job or something like that, he's going to have a lot harder time wrapping his mind around becoming the next Grant Cardone and how he'll get there if he hasn't first looked at, someone like me, for example, who is just a few steps closer to that level of success.
Exactly.
Anyway, so I hope that's a decent answer to that.
No, that's actually a great answer. It's not just like, okay, yeah, I'm looking at the Tony Robbinses, the Dean Graziosis, the Russell Brunsons, Grant Cardones, the loud ones, the flashy ones, in a positive way. And guys that are like, whoo, out there, Gary V's, right? That everybody knows. Also very smartly looking at, okay, but who's like, when I want to level up or when I'm going to level up, who's there, right? So I can see what are they doing different than I am doing. What should I be doing right now to make that next step? To then again continue to look at Gary Vee or Grant Cardone, right? To see and then just keep getting closer to those guys. I think that's a great idea, because one of the big things why we fail and why we struggle so much is because we look at a Grant Cardone and then think like, okay, that's where I'm going right away. I think, whoa, it doesn't work that way. It's just every single time, it's just one little step, right? So I think that's great advice. So I appreciate that.
Thanks. Yeah, of course, man.
So besides the people that have been with us for an hour almost, and you've been so generous to share with us this cheat sheet. For ads, cheat sheet for YouTube. What are some good ways to follow you, get in contact with you? Join. You said a Facebook group, so for the people that are watching live, sorry, I don't have the link for that, but it will be on the YouTube video. So if you're watching the replay on YouTube or you're listening to the replay on the podcast, remember it's in the description. So definitely the Facebook group we will add there. What else? Where else can we send people to get in contact?
So, for the most part, the Facebook group obviously is a great place, which is YouTube Ad Masters. It's actually YT Ad Masters. And the reason why we chose YT over YouTube is when it comes time for advertising and stuff like that, you can sometimes get into like legal issues if you're using a trademark name like YouTube in your Facebook group, or potentially even just have your group shut down. So it's YT Ad Masters. And then, of course, I do have a YouTube channel. It doesn't always go into YouTube advertising per se, but some people who are trying to make their first dollar online, they can absolutely just look me up, Erick Silvio, on YouTube. And you can see all different kinds of cool tricks, how you could get started making money online, make your first dollar. And I think it's kind of fun doing that. I haven't done a YouTube video in, I don't know, it's probably been a few weeks now, something like that. But I try to post pretty regularly new tips and strategies that are coming up where, you can make an extra $100 a day here or something like that. Just start getting off the ground to quit your 9-to-5 and be home with your family and make money online. It's kind of a fun channel.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. So again, for those of you that are watching this live or later on in the replay on Facebook, all you can do is click on the link and maybe look for the links that Eric just mentioned. However, if you are listening or watching to the replays on YouTube or my podcast, then just go to the description and you can find the links right there. You can click on them and check them out. Make sure, just one little thing, people. If you do these, like if you go to his YouTube channel or if you go to his group, make sure you join his group. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel. Click that you like the videos that you watch. It's so important for us dadpreneurs to support each other, promote each other, share as much as we can. That's the fastest way for everybody to grow, not just for Eric. Right now, it's just all Eric. No, also for you, because Eric will see that. He'll be like, oh, who's this guy? Oh, that's cool. Let's check him out. He will check you out. He most likely will reciprocate and say like, you know what? I'm going to like his channel too. So
absolutely.
There you go. And lastly, and Eric just mentioned this as well throughout the interview. Most important, if you've been listening to this, if there are some golden nuggets that you've taken from this, don't just take them, use them, take action, just go for it, work it out. Even if you're like, not so sure, do it, try it, works, fantastic. Both Eric and myself will be very excited. Let us know, please. And if not, great, let us know as well, right? Because it's important. So anyway, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for being here. Eric, thank you again.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Best of luck with everything. We're going to talk a little bit more before we quit. Everybody else, have an amazing day, and I will talk to you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, wait. We're going to have a visit. All right. We're going to stay live for a second.
Okay.
Come on, little Spider-Man. Little Spider-Man.
What's up, man?
Yeah, we're done. Ready to say bye-bye to the people?
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Are you still meeting up with your friends now that you're a father? Kids making you stress out. You got no time for yourself to work out, read, or relax. Can you still remember the time you were hanging out with your friends, feeling energetic, happy, and confident? Spending time together and talking about your life and your crazy dreams. You're feeling alone now, don't you? No one to share your challenges with, and you're just running around from one storm into the next. Well, it's time to change this now. Join me and the Brotherhood of Fearless Fathers to speak on a weekly basis with like-minded dads to crush your challenges, face your fears with determination, be held accountable, and regain control of your life. If you want to become the hero your family needs you to be, then go to becomeafearlessfather.com/brotherhood. Looking forward to seeing you on one of our next calls.